Sarah McCarthy and the entire Diaz family. I know you're scattered around here. Come on out.
Can we also get Nicole and Alfie and Grace to come up here?
Everyone. What a beautiful story. Sarah, how did you find the Diaz family? How did this happen?
Thanks, Jordan. I found the Diazes through, it was kind of a convoluted process, but I approached Bob Marvin first because I knew that I wanted to make a film about the science of parent-child love and how the way a parent interacts with a child drives that child's brain development. And so I approached Bob and I connected with some of the adoption agencies that he is recommended by, and wrote to all of these adoption agencies a kind of letter about who I was and what I wanted to do and what I'd done before. And the Diazes were the very first family to to call me, and I just got so lucky. And I remember really clearly that very first conversation that I had with Claudio, and they sent me some absolutely brilliant pictures of themselves as a family in matching pajamas at Christmas.
Thanks to Cheryl.
Yeah, and it was at that point that I knew.
Wonderful. Can we take some questions from the audience? Are there any questions? Yes, up there.
I just wonder if there was any way that you could have been more prepared for taking on 3 children. I know that Dr. Martin said that it wasn't his place to tell you, but I just wonder if there was some way that you could have been told.
Oh, sure. Watch the film first. That would have been the solution. Absolutely. Hindsight's 20/20, no doubt. We had the right intention and desire to make a difference, not only in their lives, but in our lives. And we've always wanted a family of 4. I still remember the first time we were at a social at Disney. Cheryl also worked for Disney. And we talked about how congruent all of our different philosophies were. And so we just wanted to achieve that point. And we're no spring chickens. She is, I'm not. Just kidding. She's 6 years my senior, so. But anyway, she robbed the cradle. And so the adoption process actually limits you. As you get older, you really can't take on. We wanted younger children, and you can't take that on. So we knew the time clock was ticking and had to do it in one fell swoop, or else the doors would close pretty quickly. So, but you know, the education that we received did help us in getting there, and no doubt about it, without that component, and you know, the two grace of our Lord, we would be in, you know, helter-skelter for sure.
Real quick, I just wanted to add, I had a friend who adopted 4 kids, or 3, 4 kids from Russia, and before that had 1 from Ukraine. And anytime that I had any kind of questions about anything, she basically held my hand and reassured me, even through our hard times in Russia when we were crying ourselves to sleep at night, figuring if that was the right thing or the wrong thing. She wrote me the longest letter and said, "You are where you're supposed to be." And that got us through, so she did a great job.
I'm from Poland. Can you adopt me? Up there in the yellow.
I just wanted to say thank you so very much, you guys. It was beautiful that you shared that with us as a family, so thank you. But I just wondered, we didn't see a lot of it. Did you bring on more translators, or did you do any Russian sort of classes beforehand, or just that whole language barrier would have been really hard as we thought. So I just wondered, was there something that we didn't see that you were doing?
No, we did attempt to get close to our sister Rosetta Stone, but she didn't help much. Let me tell you, with the busy life that you have, you try, you have good intentions, and you get some of the language down. Cheryl and Kemi probably a lot more than I did, for sure. And still, you are truly tested because the language is, I'm Cuban American by nationality and birth, and so sometimes as Cami and Masha learn Spanish, they say, Dad, tell them to slow down. And I can empathize completely because once you get into the throes of it, no matter how much you've done, you really aren't prepared. And that was the one thing that I think led me to my brink was the communication barrier. It just, no matter, we had a story where it wasn't on the film, but the very first time we were at the dinner table together, and these little boys had been, as you saw, through some, what I consider to be tough times. So they actually made it a habit to squirrel away food at every meal because the older sibling, or the older adopted children wouldn't let them eat. And so they start stuffing their pockets that very first dinner. And so I said, now you'll probably hopefully never do this yourself, but I said, no, we don't need to do that. So just translate that without any words. And so they saw their heads on the chopping block, and it was just terrible. And you don't realize it in the moment because your heart is just saying, oh, how precious these little children are. They're squirreling away food. And here they're looking at them, they're gonna kill us. It's those kind of stories that just evolve and you realize, holy smokes, is communication not critical? So your point is dead on.
But Bob, actually, because I talked to Bob a lot about the language barrier issue, and he had a really fascinating take on it. That was children from this kind of background who aren't used to articulating their emotions. They're never going to tell you what it is that they need emotionally, verbally. That's never going to happen. And so what it's actually quite useful to do is try and learn how to read their non-verbal cues, their body language, and the looks on their faces as they're interacting with you. And I thought that was a really fascinating piece of the puzzle from Bob.
I have a question for the two sisters about how it feels to be movie stars now.
It's amazing. It's so glamorous. Not really like big stars, but.
Just wait, just wait. Yes, up there?
None of the children's ages were disclosed in the documentary, including family. Was that done on purpose?
The question was that it was a comment that the children's ages weren't disclosed in the film and if it was done on purpose.
No. No, I never even really thought about it. That's an interesting question.
Can we answer that question?
Yeah.
Yeah. Very clear. So Cami is 16, Masha's 13, and they are 7.
Yes, right here.
I was just wondering, what was it like having the cameras around, and did that change how you all behave? Did you find yourself doing anything different when the cameras are around, or did it just become normal?
The question was if the family felt themselves being different with the cameras around or if it just became normal.
Well, yes, it did change some things. Of course, you saw that scene where I was in that pink with that zebra mask. I don't know why I was wearing that, but I didn't want to cry on camera, so I was finding every place to hide in the house so they wouldn't see me cry, but I had a microphone on, so they heard me, of course. But yeah, I was finding when I was emotional, I would go hide so they wouldn't find me, so that they wouldn't see it, or I'd put on like makeup and do my hair before every time they'd come in, and usually I wouldn't do that, so yeah, it changed a couple things.
I would say over time they're in our face so much. Sarah and the cameraman actually rented the house in front of us even, so yeah, they were there. And you don't get away from the reality. I mean, there's no script that was given to us, as you all know, and several of you who are documentary filmmakers as well. It's the pure art of the celluloid that really translates life. So.
Any other questions? Yes, up here in the front.
In the orphanage, it appears that Masha had an affinity for classical piano, and I'm wondering if she's maintained that. She seems like a real child.
The question is if Masha still plays piano.
I do. At home, I play piano, Camino's, because she plays too. I sing sometimes. Of course, Masha is much better. She's had lessons, so she teaches me. She figures out songs from the radio, popular songs, and she plays them by ear on the piano all by herself. I think it's with chords and everything. That's just amazing. So.
Have you all been to Disneyland together yet?
That's a good one.
Does everyone have their own Disney character now?
Boys? Any Disney character you like?
Well, for Christmas, we have stockings, and as you know, his is Goofy. Mine is Tinkerbell. She's changed back to Minnie. She was Minnie, then Pluto, then Minnie. It's Buzz and Woody, and Rapunzel. So we all have Disney stockings, and we have the monorail goes under the tree. So we are definitely got pixie dust floating all over our house.
Yes, back here.
Just wondering if there's any current connection to Russia, or the orphanage in Russia had a special relationship with someone in their life before she moved?
The question is there a current connection to Russia?
No. Well, I was gonna write her a letter, but then I lost it. And then I'm gonna have to write a new letter now. Oh yeah, kind of.
Yes.
Well, actually, that was my question, and who always used the relation
Um,
Yes, she is.
What was it?
She's just shy. We went to the Russian film entrepreneurs and she wouldn't speak to them, but she understood completely.
Yes, up there in the back in the blue.
I was wondering how the family came to be involved with the program.
How did the family come to be involved with the program? Is the question.
Similar to the first question, which is I approached Bob Vass, and he's recommended by a number of adoption agencies in the US. And I connected with Bob and the adoption agencies and sent out a letter, and the Diaz's were the first people to write back.
Were they part of the program already?
Yeah, they were working with Bob, and we just followed the process.
And so how did that, I'm just wondering how that started. Did family contact Bob or Bob?
It was their adoption agent, Alla, who sent out the letter and who recommended Bob to the family as well.
But just a point of clarification, we had not met Bob until we met Sarah.
We filmed their first
Is
meeting
that
as well.
what I think
Yeah.
I have another question for Sarah. Could you talk about the use of science in the film and how that came to be?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I was fascinated, as I said, with the science element of the film to begin with, and I just think that relationships are so crucial to who we are. The way that our parents love us when we're kids defines us and makes us who we are. And I just think that the relationships that you have with the people in your life are so comforting, and you can draw such strength and joy from those relationships. And science has been investigating the way love works for such a long time, and they've had some extraordinary insights. I mean, you can see where they started was sort of ridiculous. Scientists in the 30s were telling parents not to hug or kiss their children, that it would make them grow up, weak-willed and pathetic. But now they've sort of caught up to common sense, and they've actually had some really interesting insights into the way that you can interact with your children and how that will optimize your child's brain development, and also how it will help them be able to live in close relationships for the rest of their lives. And there's all this knowledge out there, and I just wanted my film to kind of take a few of those key insights and embed them into an engaging narrative, so I could kind of share that insight with the world, so people can learn to be more open with the people that they love through Masha's story, and they can learn to be more accepting of their family situation through Cammie's story. And yeah, I really hope that everybody here has had some thought to, over the course of watching the film, has had some thought to how they interacted with their parents when they were children, and how that affects the way that they negotiate their friendships and their romances today, and whether the relationship patterns that they inherited from their parents were healthy or unhealthy, and what they can build on and what they sort of might need to adjust. Does that all make sense?
Well, it begs the question, what's next? Because it's like there should be a sequel or another project. So my question there is, what's next?
For me as a filmmaker, there's a couple of projects that I have that I'm working on. There's an installation for the Museum of Modern Art, which came about because a woman saw this film and she called me in hysterics, and I'd never spoken to her before, but she's a friend of a friend, and she was like, I never danced with my parents and I don't dance with my children now, and help me. And I kind of talked her down. And she wrote this beautiful book that's beautiful and terrible at the same time. It's 1,000 postcards that she sent to her daughter in the first 7 years of her daughter's life while she was away traveling with her alcoholic husband. They used to go on the road to try and dry him out. And so she was largely absent. Her child was raised by nannies, Georgina. And she asked me to kind of make a 5-minute installation on 3 screens for her Museum of Modern Art exhibition that's coming up. So I feel like it's just dark matter all over again, but with different characters. And I think it's a good kind of baby project to get me back into the swing of filmmaking, because I feel like dark matter is my child and it will have attachment issues unless I give it the care that it needs in the next year or so.
Well, thank you all for joining us very much.
Thank you. And I just wanted to say one more thing. So Russian President Vladimir Putin banned adoptions into the US on January the 1st this year. And the film has become part of a kind of wider campaign to help the 300 Russian children, just like Mash and Marcel and Vadim, who have met their American parents but haven't been able to complete their adoptions. And Jessica Veselika, this lady here, is stuck in the adoption ban right now. And she's fighting to bring her little girl, Irina, home. My brother, Pat, has some stickers that he's going to hand out that just say very simply, Putin, free the children. And it would be really great, he's going to hand them out as you guys leave, if you could take photos of yourself or the stickers anywhere around TIFF and just post them on social media. We're trying to raise the profile of this situation, which is so horrific, and try and get these kids into loving families as quickly as we can.